You're listening to episode 28 of the Master Your Mind, Business, and Life podcast. This week's episode is wildly fascinating. It combines imagination with technology and dreams with reality. That's right, we're talking about virtual reality. Today's guest is Michael Berman. Michael has numerous virtual reality businesses that range from 3D virtual reality tours for businesses and real estate to VR experiences in elder care facilities, and even one in meditation. I cannot wait to introduce you to Michael. But before we dive in, it's time for the review of the week. This week's review comes from C. Schneb, and it reads, "Well done. Your voice is clear, your words are thoughtful, and your energy is contagious." Let me be the first to say that my energy is a direct reflection of the amazing guests who join me each week, mixed with a little excitement knowing of how many of you are tuning in. Keep those reviews coming. They help the show rank on different podcast platforms, help others find it, and of course, serve as feedback to me on what you want to hear more of. Don't forget that tomorrow I am drawing a winner for this week's review of the month. If you haven't submitted a review yet to iTunes, go ahead and do so, and you'll be automatically entered to win a copy of my book, Mind Love, Bite-Sized Thought Nuggets to Fuel Your Life. If you leave a review on Podbean, Google Play Music, or similar, take a screenshot of it and message it to me at hello@laurensmithbiz.com. Okay, are you ready to meet Michael and dive into a world full of endless possibilities? You know what to do. Tune in, turn it up, let's go.
You're listening to Master Your Mind, Business, and Life. Conversations with everyday world shifters, truth seekers, and rule breakers. Here's your host, Lauren Smith.
Hey everyone, it's Lauren Smith. Welcome back to another episode. Today I'm joined by Michael Berman. I think Michael is best described as a serial entrepreneur who has dipped his hands in many arenas, but is currently making big waves in the virtual reality realm with his business partner, Matthew Widmer. Senior Care VR, Realty View, and Car VR Tour are just a few LLCs under his belt. Michael, welcome to the show, and thank you for joining me.
Thanks, Lauren, for having me. It's good to talk with you.
Well, when I heard that you work with virtual reality, I was so intrigued. I can't say I know a lot about this topic, so I appreciate you taking the time to join me and to educate myself as well as our audience more about virtual reality.
Sure, happy to.
Well, you and your team are making some really big waves. I know we talked a little bit before this, and before we dive into the world of virtual reality, what got you interested in this line of work?
Well, I've been a technology person for most of my professional career. I've been on the edge of new technologies and introducing new technologies. And part of my skill set is I understand the technical, but I'm able to put it into layman's language. So I've been doing that for pretty much my career, introducing technology back in the early days of PCs and cell phones and mobile devices and all kinds of stuff around technology that's now come to be intuitive to all of us. And getting into virtual reality, I've been studying over the years and seeing the trends and the waves of what's new. And virtual reality is the next wave of computing. I don't get that from me, I get it from Mark Zuckerberg. He's the guy from Facebook that invested tons of money in Oculus, and they're really saying that this is the next wave. And frankly, it is. The technology is incredible. It's immersive. It gives you experiences that you otherwise might not ever be able to have. And for us, my company, we've embedded layers of other technology into the VR experience to create therapeutic experiences, meditation experiences, and focused around the senior market. So we've been kind of reinvented the way that you would do meditation and mindfulness. It's just an eye-open meditation in our case.
Well, let's go ahead. Yeah, let's talk about that, VR and meditation, because you have been working with a friend of mine and a well-known guest to this podcast, Cheryl Turner. So what can you tell us more about that project?
Yeah, so it was great to meet Cheryl. She's a terrific person. She's got a great understanding of humans and psyche. And she's created some scripting with Matthew and myself, my partner, with vivid imagery and guided imagery. So we really created experiences that immerse you, that utilize entrainment technology, which is sound, which creates differences on each side of your brain. I don't want to get too deep into the science of it, but this is all backed by science and what virtual reality does and brain entrainment does. And basically, we've taken those two technologies and put them together. And Matthew's great understanding of what works in particular situations was really part of our secret sauce, and knowing what to marry with what. And then using Cheryl with her background and psychology, and using the guided imagery and NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, and elements of hypnosis into our design. And we've created immersive experiences, which really we're getting tremendous feedback on right now, based on all of these 40 years of studies in brain entrainment and VR. So we're taking those two things together, marrying them as an integrator, and bringing them out as a new product. And we've just had amazing results in numerous markets, in the senior market, in the healthcare market, behavioral health, and regular doctor office visits to reduce anxiety. The dental market, we've got enormous response to our product.
Yeah, we were just talking about that dental market this morning because I had a canceled dentist appointment, and you said that this is a new field that you guys have kind of entered into. So can we kind of backtrack on that conversation that we were having? And
yeah. So
about that.
Yeah, sure. As we've been, getting into the market is still new in VR. I mean, the intersection of adoption really is beginning to happen. It's predicted to be March of 19, which we're approaching. And you're going to see much more VR content available. So essentially, as we're doing the homework, we saw that the dental market would be a potential place to go. We talked to a few dentists and said, oh, yeah, the anxiety that patients have coming here, waiting in the waiting room, this would be a great thing to have. And then we demonstrate the possibility of using the headset on the patient while they're in the chair. And it's basically, we've created an interface with a screen that allows the provider to see what you're looking at. And actually, instead of you moving your head around, the provider is able to move things around from remotely. So your head stays still, but you still have the immersive experience. And frankly, the distraction is just fabulous. And in some cases, this is not in our product, but in other instances, people have said they do not need to use a nitrous oxide and they don't need to use Novocaine. And that unto itself is revolutionary. I can't say that we've done that yet with our product, but it's very promising that that's going to be the case. And we've had an enormous amount of traction already in this short period of time with a dentist inquiry into our product.
Yeah, it's so crazy how you can be sitting in that chair and you can go from being very calm to like a ball of sweat in no time. Like I'm just definitely one of those people that have that anxiety. So I think that something visual, having the headset on would be so beneficial to someone like myself.
No question. I'm seeing the value in lots of different spaces in behavioral health and looking at it in like I said earlier, medical space and for the mindfulness and meditation space. I mean, we're just getting, again, people are looking for something that's going to really help. And I'm really excited because I see that it's helping people.
Yeah. Speaking of helping people, I read an article that you and your business partner, Matthew, wrote about how the research suggests that virtual reality can help senior living communities improve the residents' mental and physical health. And I read that the studies show that those senior citizens who use VR gain significant improvements in happiness, brain activity, social engagement, and it prevents loneliness, depression, and even unfulfilled bucket list experiences. This is really cool, and I think a game changer for the senior living communities. Will you share a little bit more about this and kind of how you figured your way into this market?
Yeah, that's quite interesting. Well, it's so true that seniors, particularly in assisted living and nursing situation and memory care, are dealing with a huge amount of loneliness and anxiety. Definitely, when you're talking about Alzheimer's and dementia issues, there's anxiety associated with that. And so in VR, you're able to go and fulfill those bucket lists by going to the Louvre or going to the pyramids. So there's all kinds of content that's just generally there in VR, not just in our app, but in general. So people can put on the headset and travel. So within our app, we've created different scenes associated with seniors and senior living. And we have embedded inside an interactive scene that's strictly for seniors. So that goes in that module for them. And how did I get into it? Well, my mom and my mother-in-law are both experienced dementia leading to Alzheimer's. And watching that experience and feeling pretty helpless around it was really what drove me to it. And my mom passed in 2013. And as the world started to emerge in VR, I saw the possibilities and started to do some homework around the space and see how that would work. And lo and behold, in late 14, early 15, I believe, early 15, a company came out of Cambridge from MIT and won an award and started putting out a product for the senior living. In those early days, it was with a cell phone. You'd have to put that. That was like a Google
like a
cardboard.
Yeah.
And so the quality of the experience was difficult. You had to have a headphone, cell phone, and it just made it a difficult process. Now with the Oculus Go and other headsets that are self-contained, it's a much easier experience. But that was really the beginnings of it. And then when I met Matthew, it was like, yeah, this is something I have real desire to do one of these days. We got into another phase of the business. We actually got into doing reality captures for real estate and for retail. And that really became the foundation of our first business. And as we were driving along in that business, the idea of doing something with virtual reality and mental health and PTSD and senior living came to fruition. And from that, Matthew and I actually sat together and talked about some of our interests. And it was very interesting that we both had an interest in brain entrainment and binaural beats and things that were, not really well known in mainstream. And we thought about how those technologies could be married together and decided to create the platform. So essentially, that's how we got into it.
That is so cool. That is so cool. And I think we discussed this before, but when the seniors are putting on the headsets, have you found that they like to go to any particular place? Like, is there like a hot spot that you found within the senior community, or what have you found that they really enjoy doing?
Well, a couple of things. I mean, getting the experience and sitting there, you get all the oohs and ahs. But what I really learned through the process was that reminiscence is huge. Now, what is reminiscence? Reminiscence is that you have dementia or Alzheimer's and your memory is pretty much shot and you really can't speak all that well anymore and express yourself. But if you play music from your age group, whenever that might have been, you almost are able to sing every single word of that song. So it's mind-boggling to see that actually could happen. So when you do the VR, we have a situation where you can take someone back through Google Earth and take them to the street where they live, where they grew up, see their home. So you talk about reminiscence and bringing back memories. And you'd be astounded to see how that works and see what happens. So reactions are fabulous. I'd love to do this. And we've set it up so you can actually broadcast the experience. So in order to make it useful in a senior living environment, because they're strapped by budget oftentimes, let's say they have 4 headsets or 5 headsets for 25 people. Now, they may have an hour and everyone may get a turn, but one of the things we did is we set up through Chromecast. So on a television, people in the room who don't have the headsets on can experience what the people with the headset are doing. So
that's so cool. So they're still being entertained as well without having like the actual firsthand experience.
Exactly. And it makes it more cost effective for the assisted living or the facility for themselves, because they're able to, attract enough people to a session and cover enough people for that.
That is so cool. Do any of them ever get like motion sickness?
Yeah, motion sickness is part of the experience, I would say. There's people that say, I can't do it because they predisposed in their mind that they're going to get nauseous. And then there's people that go, I can't look down, because they look down in the headset and it's like, wow, my feet aren't on the ground. So I generally have people, when they do the first experience, I ask them to sit down, I ask them to put the headset on, take a deep breath, and have the experience. Some people say, I can't do it. They take a minute of it. Some people will take it on. And I've watched, particularly with our meditation platform, I've watched people within 30 seconds, you see the entrainment actually happen. You see the breathing change. You physically, they have the headset on and I'm physically watching them in their being and their body. And you see that cleansing breath take place.
Right.
And when I see that happen, my hand's off the wheel. I let it go and have someone take the experience. And I say, listen, you can just move your head around. They start moving their head around. I go, oh my gosh, that's wonderful. And there's no talk of nausea. That once you get into that and get over that preconceived thing in your head about the nausea, you don't have it.
Right. So it's kind of like you've already put that fear in your head, and sometimes it's a little hard to step over that subconscious block that you've already put there.
I would say that's true in life.
Yeah. For everything, right?
For everything. I mean, I definitely think that's part of all of our behaviors in the subconscious world. This is why we're driven by. We make mistakes and we do the repetitive mistakes over again because it's our subconscious mind that's dictating it. We're unable to get out of our own way to be the observer of self. And when you're able to get to be the observer of self, you're able to step back a little bit. And this is why meditation is so powerful, because it gives your brain a chance to cleanse itself, if you will, and get the garbage away. So you're able to create that space. So when you're creating new space, you're creating new connectivity in your brain. Creating new connectivity creates new experiences and new electronics, if you will, in your brain to create new good stuff, as long as you're going in new good stuff. If you're going to sit there and be anxiety and fear and worry, you're not going to get out of that. And it's all of your subconscious mind that's doing it. So the meditation works in a way that you're able to extract and get rid of that stuff that's bothering you and get to a place of central, to be centered. And that's really what's really exciting about the technology, the eye-open meditation, the convergence of using the different technologies to get great efficacy. That's what we're really excited about.
I can only imagine how cool that would be. I use the Calm app a lot for meditation, and even then I get distracted by my surroundings. So I feel that if I were to have something visual as well as listening to Sheril's calming voice or someone like that it would really give me a heightened meditation, the one that I have never experienced before.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. I hadn't either. I mean, I just created and then had the experience of it. And when you are able to get that clarity, when you're able to get out of your way and have that calm, I mean, I personally, for the last 3 years, have been doing meditation every day, and it changed my life. And I just highly recommend it. And now that, one of the things you just kind of mentioned, you do the meditation and you get distracted. And you know what? It's okay. One of the things in meditation is it's okay. Don't beat yourself up. You're a hero. Bring it back.
Yeah.
And this is the way. And it's concentrated and focus on your breathing. The breathing helps you distract from your mind and allows you to get that. And when you have the eye open and you have this beautiful voice and this beautiful music in the background, then, you do let go and you are able to get into a better place. And, I've seen medical experiences where they can't really share in detail, but I saw, I heard the story of a woman who was totally depressed, used our headset and the experience and came out of it and was like, oh, I feel 100% better. And, again, I'm giving you a high level of that experience, but we're getting that kind of feedback. And it just tells me that the idea of integration of of technologies that exist and putting new stuff together and creating new opportunities, that's really what we're doing. And again, my excitement is seeing that it's going to help people. So that's really what's driving the whole thing. That's what you hear in my voice.
Literally life-changing.
Very much so.
Yes.
Very much.
Well, I had gotten sucked into one of your websites watching all of these amazing 3D virtual tours of everything from homes to businesses to cars. So how do you think that these 3D virtual tours are impacting the buyer's experience?
Well, I think it is only based on the information I get from Google. And I know the amount of time that people are spending on search, on mobile, and how it increases daily, how people spend money on social media and spending their time there. And this is where particularly millennial generation does their shopping, and they do research in advance, whether it's going to be a rental of a property or buying an automobile. And this generation, millennial, has been, intuitive. It's all digital. They don't know anything else. They don't know what a payphone is, and I'm not being nasty about that, but there's a huge difference in the way that it is perceived. And the buying experience is a digital online mobile experience. And then you need to talk about Gen X and boomers and how they buy. So people have to have a multiple omni-channel strategy to reach people. And I just have seen, businesses that want to be modern, have digital presence along with a physical presence, that these tours help bring customers in. We're definitely strong in the automobile marketplace, where this a market that's huge in disruption. And now you see car buying online. There's companies like Carvana that is disrupting that marketplace. And dealers have to embrace other technologies, and virtual reality is one of them. Same thing in real estate. A Redfin real estate company said that in 2017, 1 in 3 millennials would rent or buy a home without ever setting foot in it if they had a virtual tour.
Oh, so I would be one of those people. I think I could be one of those people.
Yeah, we're talking about efficiency and time saving. And with the Carvana situation, I mean, you buy the car, basically you have 7 days to return it. All the paperwork is done. They bring it to you, sign and drive. And if you don't like it, they take the car back 7 days later. I mean, what could be wrong with that? It's a piece of metal and steel, and it's like, if it looks clean, it smells clean, and it drives okay, the chances of returning it are probably slim if you got what you want. And they do the percentages on that. They go, yeah, we're going to get 10 a month back, but they pound that into their model, So it's a long answer to a question, which is, I think it's being embraced in a lot of different places. We recently did the Boston Bruins skating arena. They want to show their fans that they have their facility, and people go to the practice rinks there. So people want to see what they're going into ahead of time. It drives them to come and see what's going on there. And this is restaurants, venues, wedding venues, places that people come and congregate, bowling alleys, you name it. And so we've got a lot of traction around that. We've created a national footprint for our company. We have providers in all the states here in the U.S. and about 200 providers globally that are part of our network.
That is so cool.
Yeah, so that's also a great business, and it's growing. And again, it's back to that intersection of time that I'm talking about, of March of 19, according to all the big, consulting firms, that this is when it's happening. And it does join with what I was saying earlier. Oculus is coming out with another headset that's even more mainstream in March, April, May of this year. So you're going to see a real uptick in interest and adoption.
That is the coolest thing. I was just thinking about the car buying process, and the last time that I had bought a car, I think I spent no less than 5 hours at the dealership. So if I could just have cut out that whole 5 hours and do everything online, I would do that for sure.
Absolutely. Well, I need you for my testimonial on my website for that one.
Right.
But that you nailed it. That is for sure. I mean, I don't want to spend the 5 hours in the dealer anymore. I like still, I'm an older guy, so I go kick on the tires. It's kind of my generational thing. But on the other hand, the time now for me is much more important than going and kicking the tires, particularly on a new car. On a used car, I might not be as conducive as a millennial. I still may want to go kick the tires and go drive it, but versus having it delivered to my house. But on the other hand, I could easily get into that mode. And could I go rent a place without walking into it? On a virtual tour, I just might. I can't say that I'm over that line yet. It could be just an age thing or a preconceived thing that I have. But it's happening, and this is the adoption curve that I'm seeing, and it's happening in real estate. It's happening in retail. We have a lot of retail customers now knocking on our doors, and surely it's happening in the automobile business.
I could even think that even if you weren't going to rent or buy a home long term, even if you were renting for vacation, it would be really cool to just know exactly what you're going to expect when you get there. I mean, pictures do one thing, but to actually experience and have the walkthrough would be a game changer. That could take you from maybe wanting to choose that house to definitely choosing that house.
Yeah, I believe that, but it's interesting. I've gone to the market here in Massachusetts and Cape Cod, where the rentals are and talk to people down there. Say, I've been renting it for this many years. The photos work. I've never had a problem. Why do I want to spend $200 or $300 on new photos? It's just like, it's kind of hard to argue with them. Hey, it's the more modern way. Hey, I still rent it every year. Why do I have to spend more money? So that's the kind of, the homeowner on the Cape is, I'm happy as I don't need to do it. There's no need. But there will be a crossover where 2D photos will be old and 3D and virtual tours will be new. And we're probably 5-7 years away before you start seeing more of that mainstream. And you're also going to see other technology that's going to allow you, the consumer, to do semi-professional work and be able to grab it yourself. So that's what's really going to happen. And already there's 360 cameras, less costly, and you'll be able to next year do it on your iPhone or your Samsung and be able to capture the 360 shots. Probably already can.
Yeah, so kind of like with cell phones, how they evolved from, I remember my dad had one of those big car phones that came in a pack, it's like obnoxiously large and had this like,
I have one.
Yes. And then it went to like the beeper area, but beepers, like not so much use anymore. And I told my kids, like they have one of my old flip phones and they just think it's so cool. And I'm like,
absolutely.
Yeah, flip phones were awesome. Now it's all touchscreen, but they didn't understand how to use the flip phone because they were trying to touch the screen. And I was like, oh, you got to click these buttons. You actually have to use buttons on this. So it's just so crazy to me that, it wasn't even that long ago that I had that flip phone. So it's just changing at a rapid pace.
So exactly. So back to where we were, my getting into it was that really Mark Zuckerberg really chipped the edge there and said, hey, this is the next wave of computing. And really behind the scenes with all the major companies and all the chip companies, they're all building to this and this and augmented reality. And augmented reality, where the world sits in front of you, this is going to be the next big wave in conjunction with VR. So there's going to be different usage, and those eventually will marry together as mixed reality. So there's company Magic Leap, huge out there that basically is going to dominate the AR market. And we have a project that we're working there as well. So I'm very excited about the future of computing. Yeah, those old cell phones, I had one too, with an antenna on the top of the car and driving around with this big bag all the time. $2,500 a month in cell phone bill. It was, oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, I remember in, I think, middle school, just texting from my mom's old Nokia, and she's like, oh my gosh, you're gonna rack up my cell phone bill. I think I was working a job with her at the time, and I had to pay how much I texted, and now texting is included in almost every unlimited plan. So it's just so crazy how much has changed.
Absolutely.
Well, can you share with our audience, I know you have a lot of websites and different projects going on. Can you list some of those websites so they can go check them out?
Sure. So the first one that we started with is RealTView, and that's Real, REAL, and then T as in Tom, V as in Victory, IEW.com, RealTView.com. That's our real estate capture and retail capture. The next is CAR, CAR, VR Tour, and that's our automobile capture. And then we have Meditainment, MEDIT as in Tom, AINMENT, VR.com. It's meditation. And SeniorCareVR.com.
Oh, that's just so perfect. I will make sure to link those in the episode notes. So if anyone's driving or doesn't have access to their computer or phone right now, just head over to the episode notes and they'll all be laid out for you. But Michael, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been a wealth of knowledge. You and Matthew are making some big moves and are expanding technology in ways that many of us have never thought could be possible. So thank you for being a change maker in this world.
Thanks, Lauren, so much. You're awesome.
You guys, my mind is pretty blown after this conversation. Michael is a wealth of knowledge and has an amazing energy. I encourage you to check out all of his virtual reality websites, which I have linked in this week's episode notes found on mindbizlife.com. And can we just take a second to note that this is the final episode of February? 2019 is flying by. March's schedule is being rearranged due to some unexpected but super dope guests. I don't want to reveal too much yet. I'll drop hints on my Instagram as the month progresses, so be sure to follow me on the gram at MindBizLife. I'm also on Facebook. Just search Master Your Mind, Business, and Life. I'll see you back here next week, and until then, remember, every level of life is an opportunity to grow. Be well, my friend.